We're going to start our study session. Number 9, resolutions. I do. Okay, those are ready. Councilor Thompson.
Madam President, I have item number 10 that is ready.
Oh, thank you. Councilor Bay.
Thank you. I have item number 11. I believe there was supposed to be someone here to provide an explanation. I don't see Mr. Lowe, so.
MBD.
Yeah.
Was it Eric? Was it you, Eric?
Oh, no, we were told that Mr. Lowe would provide an explanation, but Nora's here.
Number 11?
So should we hold or withdraw, or somebody want to give an explanation? All right. It says MBD on it, so you would think.
All righty. So we're going to wait for explanation on that.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Okay. Councilor Rudd.
I have items 12 through 15. 12 is a settlement. Is there anybody who wants to?
Not here. Executive session.
Okay, executive session. On Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just want to go back to 13, 14, and 15 for you, Tim.
Yep.
Because the county is not actually voting on this until
Right, so we're gonna have to
tomorrow.
hold 13,
Right.
14, 15. But
Sorry, I
still
couldn't
have
hear.
to
Yes.
Take a moment just to describe them now.
Yes, it's the annual tax levy. There's 3 items: the county sewer, water, and then the tax levy, including the abstract, the various charges on that. The legislature meets on December 4th, so we're asking to hold this, because your meeting is on the 3rd, and we'll vote on it the following meeting. But if you have any questions, I'll take them, or, as I said with Councilor Rudd, I'll meet with him, after the meeting if there's any issues.
Can we get a copy of the abstract?
It should be in your book.
Oh.
All the documents I have were,
It's the way it's labeled. It kind of looks like it goes to the next one, but it's there. They're kind of like 13, 14, but then they're clustered together. The back up.
yeah.
All righty.
All right.
So there were
Thank
some
you.
questions about the rental for the sewer rental.
Sewer charge? Yeah, it's per unit. And I know Dave Clifford can explain the per unit. It's not, I just won't even try to explain it, but it's the 421 per unit.
Yeah, I think the only change is that the county is implementing for mixed-use properties, they're going to implement the per unit charge rather than, in the past, properties coded as mixed use were considered commercial, so they were basing the sanitary district charge, the sewer use charge, on water consumption. What they've found is that a lot of times there's a lot of apartments and a commercial use, so the county passed a resolution a year or so ago to charge each unit, just like in an apartment building. And then I think they charge each commercial unit one unit as well. So that's the change from last year.
In relation to these tax collection items, I kind of asked flippantly last meeting, but Mary, if there's a way that, well, not if there's a way, can you please look at how much we spend collecting taxes overall, and then look at how many city tax dollars we collect and how many county tax dollars we collect, and if we apportioned the cost of collecting taxes by dollar collected, how much that is, so we can see how that compares to the actual 1% fee we're paid by the county.
Yeah, that's
whether it's
difficult
more or
to,
less.
yeah, it's difficult to do
Why is
because,
it difficult
for example,
to
if you
do?
come in and pay your taxes, you can use one check and pay your city and your county.
But you
So
know
if
how
a
much,
person would,
you know whether somebody paid how much money you collect in a year, right? and we should know how much was for the county and how much was for the city.
Well, we do, we have that.
Right, so it's just adding
like
it
an
all up,
allocation?
the two respective pots of money, city and county, and comparing it to the cost of collection and seeing whether our fee that we get paid, whether we're subsidizing the collection of county taxes or whether we're getting paid extra for collecting them.
So if I took the total,
It can be a future thing. It's fine. I'm just saying, moving forward, I would like to see that.
I'll see what-
But it
I'll put something
seems
together we
relevant
can
given
discuss
that
it.
we're collecting
Sure.
their taxes now.
okay.
Towns get the same 1%, everybody collects.
I know, I'm just curious whether it is a subsidy.
I'll put a document together and we can discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Green.
Thank you, Madam President. Items 16, 17, and 18.
Good afternoon, councilors. Mary Robinson, city engineer. Item 16 is related to the AXA parking garage, the easement that was held over from the last meeting.
Because of the
So,
sale.
yep, because of the sale. So I don't know if you had any additional questions on that.
No.
Okay. 17 and 18 are also related to AXA. We're currently undergoing a structural repair project. These are for the immediate structural repairs needed. DPW had some existing garage rehabilitation and repair accounts, and we need an additional $320,000 to complete the immediate structural repairs needed at that facility.
Those were ones that were already
The,
approved?
the project is currently underway.
They found $320,000 worth of additional,
Well, there's more actually, but that'll be done in the future,
somebody else's dime.
right?
Well, so what, I guess what is the anticipated next amount of to get us to kind of like an immediate repair? Are there other repairs that are coming in the next 12 months?
I can't really speak to that. I know as this is what the city has agreed to do, to complete the project that we currently have underway.
Okay. Okay.
And that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Items 19 and 20.
Good afternoon, councilors. Lonnie Bornstein, Energy Manager with the City of Syracuse. We just want to include the facade lighting for City Hall, or amend the ordinance to include it. The existing system is not sustainable. If you're not aware, they do multiple color changes for different things, breast cancer, heart, for St. Patty's Day, Christmas, and all those. The lamps are no longer available, and every time there's a color change, they physically change the lamp because it requires a different color. If we go with an LED solution, we'll save 75% in energy costs alone, and we will not have to send someone out there every time to change it, and you'll have up to 1 million color options, and it'll be programmable from a computer. So that's what we're looking to do. But the big thing is, it's next lowest hanging fruit as far as energy savings go with lighting. That's it.
Thank you. Item 21.
Good afternoon again. This is a lease of a SITA-owned property. It's currently in use by DPW. They store yard waste there. And the new lease would be for 3 years and for $1 a year.
What does this change from the old lease?
I believe they were charging us $3,200 a month or something like that. $32,000 a year. Yeah. So, right, for the city.
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
questions? Okay. Thank you.
Item 22.
Item 22 is requesting to amend CNS's agreement to add the construction inspection phase to the University Hill Bike Network project, which is the project on Waverly, Kraus, and Comstock Ave. Project's currently out to bid, so construction will be this next construction season, 2019. We did get Marchicelli funding for the construction and construction inspection phase, so that's good news. So the
What percentage?
15%. We didn't get it on the design phase, but we got it on the construction and construction inspection phase. And there was also, there's a, part of the amendment is also for some additional design fees for ADA stricter requirements.
For the construction inspection, what are the like components of it that are most needed, I guess, from that aspect?
There's full-time resident engineer and inspectors out there. It's a unit price contract, and there's all kinds of federal and DOT requirements that we have to document. A whole host of items: quality of construction, quantity of items, maintenance, protection of traffic, safety. It's our typical construction inspection. We, I don't know if some of the newer counselors have noticed, I come to you for each phase of the project. So this is the final phase of that project for the consultant fee.
But Mary, let me ask you a question, because it keeps saying the University Hill Bike Network. That's what got us in the world of trouble before. And that keeps getting us in trouble because, like you just stated, the ADA corners are there and all of these different things. Why does it have to be named University Hill Bike Network? That gets us in a lot of trouble. That
was a title that was created by someone else, but it is primarily.
I know what we're doing. I know what we're doing.
It's a milling and
I know what we're doing.
It's a milling and paving project. We are doing bike lane or sharrows in the roadway, and then pedestrian improvements.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 23.
Good afternoon, Councilors. Beth Smith of the Water Department. Item 23, we are requesting a waiver of competitive bid to purchase a large format printer plotter to assist in scanning some of our old maps. We have maps from the 1860s that are really beginning to crumble, basically, and we want to maintain those maps. And also, when the commissioner will design a project, a water main replacement project, we need to print out those large format maps. So we're looking to purchase this without a waiver, with a waiver.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilor Ryan for Councilor Carney.
Thank you, Madam President.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. I'll get you. Can I back up 1 minute? Because I forgot. I keep forgetting about Khalid. So, Councilor Bay, they're here to answer his questions.
Mr. Director.
Yes, sir. Let me apologize for the confusion on this matter this morning. I hope I didn't delay you.
No, not a problem. Just if you could provide an explanation for the benefit of council.
Glad to. The matter before the council is the grant to be received from the Centers for Financial Empowerment to create the Financial Empowerment Center here in Syracuse. A Financial Empowerment Center, if I may, just for a moment to make sure that the council is aware of the program, involves very sophisticated professional one-on-one financial counseling made available at no charge to individuals who are in difficult circumstances, typically financial difficult circumstances. This is a critical part of helping people find their way out of poverty conditions, the ability to better manage their finances in any number of circumstances, as you all know, is potentially the life-changing difference for an individual. Since 2017, the city has been working with the Cities for Financial Empowerment for the development of this program. We have, with their assistance, assembled and worked with more than 90 different agencies in the community who have been collaborating with the city and the Cities for Financial Empowerment. The next stage is actual rollout and introduction of the program, which we are targeting the first quarter or second quarter, right around that time period of 2019. The critical next stage is receiving the enabling grant from the cities for financial empowerment. That's the $150,000 that is before the council today to accept. As is indicated with our partners, there are two partners who are providing the bridge 75 and 75, and our implementation partner in Syracuse is home headquarters. The last point I make is while the city will be providing through NBD some staffing support to the program, you should not imagine that there will be a financial empowerment center building as part of this program. The best way to deliver this counseling is to go to partner providers who are already working with individuals in need and locate counselors, professional, trained, experienced counselors in those locations so that people can get those services more directly.
Any questions?
Who are the partners?
The reference 90 partners?
Financial partners.
She wants you to say United Way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, United Way, I'm sorry. President Hudson, of course the United Way has been a critical enabling partner for the initiative.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Yes.
No questions? Appreciate it, Mr.
Sorry to miss that tip. Thank you.
Laid it out there for you, too. Madam President, thank you. Go ahead.
Julie Lefebvre, Commissioner, Parks and Recreation. Item number 24 is to accept a donation on behalf of Alpha Epsilon Phi Iota for Wilson Park.
Questions? Okay.
Item 25 is permission to apply to an 880 Cities grant for winter mission to in an effort to get more people outside enjoying winter activities.
What are they going to do?
We are applying for ice bikes.
Ice bikes.
They're bikes that actually go on the ice. They're stable. The idea is to get senior population, special needs, anybody who doesn't like to ice skate or ride a bike out on the ice.
Three-wheelers?
No, I can send you guys the link, but it looks like a regular bike, but it has blades, has some blades on it too.
I need a three-wheeler.
Okay, we'll try to get one for you.
What? Where are you putting them?
We try to put them in Clinton Square, but we actually have the potential to use them year-round since we do have an indoor year-round rink.
So they're going to be downtown till the winter? Summer.
Yes, because the idea is to get more people outside in the winter. So we'll start at Clinton Square, but if it's successful, we can go at all three rinks.
Cool. Great.
Item number 26 is to come to an agreement with Syracuse Parks Conservancy so that they could sell holes to Burnett Golf Course with the idea that all funds raised go directly to the parks.
So there was some...
I also have while you talk, I have a...
Yeah, that'd be great. So the question is, we're paying $2,700 for 9 total signs?
No. So I think there's a little confusion in the way it's written. So the value of each sign is up to $300. That's the value. We are not doing any of the work. We are not collecting any of the money. We are not soliciting sponsorships. That's just strictly the value of what's going to be put into the park. They are selling it for probably more than $300 because it's a fundraising effort. Parks Conservancy is doing all the work. They are selling it. They're collecting the money. They're purchasing the signs. The only thing that we're doing is actually installing them.
Can they sponsor the ice bikes too?
So the signs, they can sell them for more than the $300?
Hopefully they would, because otherwise it's not a fundraising effort.
So what's the $2,700 for?
That's the value of the 9 signs. So it's just like any other time we ask for Schiller Park or Kirk Park to put a sign into the park, we tell you what the value of that sign is. So the $2,700 is just the value of the 9 signs, so that if we had to reorder them.
So it's going to cost the city $90.
It's going to cost the city $0.
And how long are they, somebody...
We're not purchasing the signs. We're not doing anything. They're going to purchase the signs. That's just the value of what they're putting in the park.
So when they sponsor a hole, how long is it like that before we might possibly have to replace the sign?
We would put the onus on the Parks Conservancy to replace any signs.
Do we know what their terms for sponsorship are?
They're going back and forth right now between a 1 year and I think they'd like to do a 3 year too. So if they can only get a sponsor for 1 year, so if you see the sign that's going around, there's the top sign that's permanent, and then there's a small section on the bottom where the sponsor name would be on it. So if a business only wants to do it for 1 year, that small portion is just removed and the new business is put on.
See the auditor out there, he wants to buy 4 or 5 now, so it's 300.
We can do a 10-year deal.
So are we going to get those details on that? I mean, what
You want to know how much they're selling them for?
No, I don't care how much they're selling them for. I mean, how long is it? It's gonna be a 1 year.
So the Parks Conservancy, they haven't gotten to that yet because they wanted to first see if they even had permission to do so. I can certainly ask them to come up with those terms. I think they hadn't agreed on it, but they were looking, I think, at $1,000 a hole for 1 year.
Say what?
But they hadn't agreed on that.
And when would they try to, how are they gonna get the word out? What are they planning on doing, do you know?
They're just gonna, I think they're gonna solicit businesses nearby the golf course. Anybody who does business with the Parks Conservancy, it's all up to them because we can't solicit for sponsorship.
Okay, and any reason they're just doing Burnett?
Meaning, why not both golf courses?
Yeah.
I think they want to start small, see if it's successful, and then they will include the second golf course.
Okay.
So I just heard a whispered question. Can a strip, so lookers can buy a whole sign?
We can add anything because I think I had that question too. Not that question, but I had a question. There's a lot of bars in that area, Tip Hill bars. Do we want to allow those types of establishments as well? We can table this if you'd like me to come back with more specific terms as to what type of businesses are excluded or should be excluded.
I don't think you want to exclude bars on Tip Hill.
I think the Parks Conservancy is a separate organization too.
I do think I would trust them as well, but if we right.
Okay.
Call them up and ask them for information.
Yeah, maybe they might not have to call them. They might want to put their looker sign up there.
Okay. Any other questions about this?
I'm on the Parks Conservancy board, so we have a standing conflict with their meeting. But next time I'm there, I'll tell them no lookers and all that.
Diamond dolls.
Once they come up with the sponsorship packages, though, I can certainly let you know what they are.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay. Items number 27 and 28 are related to our licensing that is required for any music that we play within the parks or our facilities.
Okay, 29.
29 is renew our contract for our veterinary medical center, which is for the emergency services for any dogs that we pick up.
So are there changes in the terms or any of that?
No.
But it's a new contract. It says renewal. Are we?
Oh, sorry. They are the only vendor that can provide this service because they do the emergency services. Anytime there's a medical emergency, they're the only ones who've done it. So we're asking for a waiver of competitive bid for this. So it's a new contract, but it's the vendor that we have been using.
Okay. Great. Madam President, if you wouldn't mind, since the auditor is here, if he could come up for a second, I had a question about some concerns I heard about nothing to do with parks. Staffing with the airport. Do you know anything?
With regard to the living wage, I assume you're referring to?
Yeah.
Thank you. So probably a month or so ago, I received a complaint from an employee at the parking contractor who no longer needed health insurance coverage and wanted to receive the higher rate. The parking company told them that that was not an option, which, as you know, back in 2012, I believe it was, the council made it very clear that the ordinance now reads provided and accepted, or offered and accepted, rather than just offered on the health insurance. So they had been providing me information through our annual living wage reports that they were providing health insurance, when actually what they were doing was offering health insurance. So I'm actually happy to report that just got an email yesterday with all the updated information. It's Republic Parking who has a contract at the airport. They have gone back and paid all employees retro pay. So they have 9 employees. I think the smallest check was in the amount of $700 and something, and the largest upwards of $10,000 retro check to one employee out there who was shorted for that amount of time. So I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. It was all.
So why did this happen?
Great question. So Republic has the contract for some city parking downtown as well. So they would be providing me with payroll information, all of which they were compliant all the way along. They, within the time since 2012, since that change was made, they took over at the airport. Why was it, an oversight? I guess I don't. And this one individual that started, I guess we sort of got lucky. This one employee, I don't know if he ended up with health insurance through a spouse or a different mechanism, but said, hey, I don't need health insurance provided by Republic anymore. I want the higher rate. And that's when this all sort of steamrolled. But Republic has done the right thing and paid retro checks to their employees.
So is there anybody else out there, Marty? Because I was on the Living Wage Committee as well as you, and maybe we might need to pull this back together because that should have been monitored.
And excellent point. And here's, from my perspective, they have provided payroll records, and as simply from my end, I've said, are you or are you not providing health insurance? And as you know, the ordinance is crystal clear, because we ran into this in 2011 where the offered provided argument was underway. So the language was clarified. Each of those contractors, companies out there, were specifically notified. I guess I could make an argument that they provided me bad information for those years. But I think they made it right to date. Are there other ones out there? I hope not. But it's the next compliance report will be going here shortly, within the next, actually maybe by the end of this week, and the letters will specifically say, make sure it's provided, and I'll go over the top, following up with phone calls, etc. But bad news is it happened for probably up to 6 years. The good news is there's some parking attendants with Christmas bonuses. So,
are we concerned it's happening anywhere else?
I guess you're always concerned, but tough to tell. I mean, I guess no, I'm not. I would think if it were happening other places, there would be complaints would be coming in within that time frame, but I just don't know.
They may not be aware, so
they may not be aware.
Once you get the reports, you'll be able to tell, because we've been going back.
And we can, from a more elaborate conversation, we can reach out to those employees and make sure that they're, please let us know. Of course, I don't have addresses or contact information. We're getting, name of the employee, the wage they're making per hour, and then yes or no that they are provided health insurance. I mean, I guess I could ask for pay stub information, which would then show if they're contributing and at what percentage. A little more elaborate, but something we're willing to do, to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it just seems like a big
it is.
It is, but I guess it's a double-edged sword. I would, shame on the Republic for starters for not providing it, but kudos to them for making it right. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before I move on, I have to excuse myself. I have a funeral to go to. But before I leave, I have a question about the North Salina Street buildings that were demolished. Because I think we all received a letter, and the gentleman is stating that he received his tax bill and he's still being taxed on the building that's no longer there.
Good afternoon, Councilors. Ken Towsley, Director of Code Enforcement.
Yes, yes, all the property owners received a tax bill showing a building on their tax bill. That's because on January 1st of this year, there was a building there. The existing tax bills, including the county tax bill that's coming out this January, will show a building, because there was a building on taxable status date January 1 of 2018.
So is there going to be any adjustment for when the buildings came off of the tax roll?
There will be. It'll affect the next series of bills. So next July's city school bill will show a vacant lot, assuming they don't build anything in the interim. And January of 2020's county bill will show that as well.
Okay. So one of those taxable status dates, is it just once a year?
Yes. Every year we assess all property in the city as of January 1st. Whatever's standing on January 1st is what we have to assess for the next series of bills that come out. Now it works in reverse, so if they built something in January, they'd pay on a vacant lot for essentially a year and a half. I know it's a little bit hard to
yeah.
think of, but it's the way New York State set up the real property tax system. And it's so that, I mean, you know, what's standing on a property can change 2 or 3 times in a year. Somebody could build something, it could have a fire, it could burn down, and then they could build something different. We can only represent on the assessment roll what is standing on January 1st each year.
Okay, so we can tell this guy that it'll show.
It
on
will
his
show,
next
he'll
tax
get a
bill.
notice of assessment, change in assessment this January. That'll show that the assessment is going down based on the removal of the building. Then his tax bill in July will be the first tax bill that will represent a vacant lot.
Okay, thank you. And I'm gonna excuse myself, so there you go.
Councilor Boyle?
Thank you. I have item number 30. At the last council meeting, I held this item so that we could revisit the possibility of making corrections to the ordinance rather than, or revisions to the ordinance rather than scrapping it entirely. I am going to be submitting a letter to the clerk to replace the letter in the book. I made 6 recommendations that I just brought through the council and to the administration. The administration and the council agreed on all 6 points, and I think we've come to a good revision of this ordinance. I'll just quickly go through what the changes are if anybody has any discussion items. The license fee should be adjusted to $50 plus $10 for any additional trucks. The city will offer educational seminars 2 times per year presented with the oversight of the Commissioner of the Department of Public Works and the Police Department at our community centers. Any plow operators who attend the seminars will have their annual license fee waived and will be listed as a certified business on the city website. These seminars will focus on illegal dumping and potential fines for breaking these laws. Number 3, unlicensed operation fee is $150. Number 4, who is required to get a license to operate a plow in the city of Syracuse should be any entity providing plowing services on properties that they do not own for a fee. Number 5 is violations that would warrant revocation of a license is 3 ticketed offenses for illegal dumping of snow. Revocation would be for 2 years, which would be the completion of the year the revocation was issued and 1 additional year. And number 6 is the fine for operating a plow business in the city of Syracuse with a revoked license is $500. So if any councilors or anyone would like to discuss any of those points, I intend to move this forward with the cooperation of the administration. So
you'll be ready on Monday. We'll work with law.
what?
I'll work with the law department to have the
Okay.
revised legislation.
So that I'm going to call ready on those points. If anybody would like to discuss any of those points, I know you've all seen them, so I just put it out there.
Great, thanks, Sue.
All right, great. So that'll be ready, and I have item number 31, which is a grant for youth employment. I'm going to call that ready.
All right, thank you. Councilor Allen.
Thank you. I have items 32 through 76.
Good afternoon, councilors. Heather Lamandola, zoning administrator. The item 32 is a special permit for indoor amusement and recreation. This is at 1153 to 1169 West Fayette Street, and this is to establish an entertainment venue and community event space in an existing building that has other uses in it, and there were no waivers that were necessary on part of the commission.
Questions?
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, councilors. My name is Yolanda Johnson, Construction Development Coordinator. I have item number 33, and that is for SUNY Upstate. They're asking permission for a minor encroachment to place a sign on an existing pedestrian bridge that will encroach 35 feet into the right-of-way.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
That was the item we held. It's now available to go forward after the public hearing on Monday.
Yeah. Did you have
Good afternoon.
You had any additional information that you wanted to share?
If there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Questions? Okay, no questions. Thank you. And 35 through 76.
Good afternoon, councilors. On the list coming around is the properties for possible tax foreclosure. It's 42 properties this time, primarily owner occupants and vacant residential properties, 1 occupied commercial and 1 occupied rental property. Happy to take any questions or provide any updates as needed.
Okay. So majority of these were held over from last time.
Correct.
The new ones, how many are new? Is it 14?
The new ones would be all towards the back.
Sorry, is that 19? 19? Okay.
From item 58 onward are new.
Okay.
Sorry, from item 57.
57?
I think.
Okay, thank you. And so items 57 through 58?
Yeah.
Okay, items 58 through 76 are all new, but these ones were not owner occupied.
Correct. These are all vacant residential.
Okay.
There is one that we may have that is occupied. Code enforcement is going out to check.
Which one is that?
That one, it's indicated. It is item 75. If we find it to be occupied, we'll do the appropriate outreach.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? So, for instance, on number 56, these comments and notes here and the amount total owed has been the same on, you know, all of these handouts that I've gotten. I've been holding this for several sessions, and I know that he's made contact and he's made payments, and it's not listed in the notes. And I'm wondering, how updated are these notes?
I do go through them and update them before every session. Sometimes I find that all that's happened is there's been a phone call 3 or 4 times and we haven't heard from the person. I can start putting those dates in if I need to.
But I know that he's come in twice and made substantial payments, and it says his number hasn't changed and the comments haven't changed.
Is this the barber shop?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure why that one's not updated, but I can look for any other relevant updates and get them to you.
Yeah.
The only other thing on that item that I did do some follow-up on was to see if he did come in and make a SEDCO application, but we have not heard from him.
Rocky's Barbershop.
Martha Maywalt, Treasury Department. It can take a few days for us to have a payment reflected in our systems that was made quite recently, so if that's the case, it could be just isn't reflected yet.
Yeah, this has been something I've been holding for how long? and I know he's been in. I mean, it's been over a month since he's come in and made payments. So at least
I haven't seen any record of payments since the last time we spoke about the property. It was just the 2 payments that were made.
He made 2 payments.
2 payments. And that is unchanged from the last agenda.
It's just saying it's not reflected. Those 2 payments are not reflected in the notes, and that was well over a month ago.
Okay, it should be documented.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, 41, 51, and 54 will be held.
You said 41, 51, and
54.
54?
Me again. It could be that those payments were made, but they don't impact the status of foreclosure. Like maybe they paid current taxes because that's all they had. They didn't have enough to pay off a lien, for example.
I was told he paid the county taxes for whatever it's worth. I don't know where that would.
Okay.
It just seems like it
well,
should be
county
part of
could
the
be current,
correspondence.
or county could be a lien.
So I know that some of the things that we look for when, when we talk about the land bank is effort being made by people. I mean, we want to see people stay in their homes if possible, and we want to see particularly people who are sort of landmark businesses. I think that we need to know if they're coming in and making effort so that we can,
We do, in the system that we use to manage this process, we do mark things as held. When we have third-party verification that progress is being made. So the property is listed for sale and there's an active listing that we can find through the realtor or online. When we have verification from home headquarters that the owner has made a map application and it's pending. Anything that we can verify through a third party as evidence that there's a reason to not proceed immediately, we do hold those properties in the system. And maybe we should start thinking about payments.
Thank you. Okay, so for items 35 through 57, these are all old items, so I'm gonna hold these for today, and I would just encourage the district counselors to maybe do some research over the next couple of days and see if you guys actually want to hold them or if they're ready for the ones that's in your districts, okay? And so items 58 through 76, any holds? No?
Can you just comment on the two that have really, like there's one that has 102,000 owed on a $36,000 parcel, and then another that has 63,000 owed on a $50,000 parcel. So why did they just come through now?
What's the numbers?
They're number 68 and
plan for them now?
74.
This phase really was the sweep to pick up anything that hadn't previously been targeted in a phase, which used to be geographic and then went towards citywide, anything with delinquency. So phases 15 and 16 were citywide and were anything that either was currently seizable or hadn't been targeted before. So these properties either just happened to not be in a geography that we used in the past, or for some reason weren't included in past phases. And I may not have good notes, but I can look into them.
Well, would there be additional properties in the future that you could say the same thing? Like 4 months from now, there'll be one that comes on, and you'll be like,
there should
oh, well,
not
we
be,
had
but
never
I could be
been
wrong in the future.
geographic area before. Now it's like everything's covered.
We should be at a point where we're stable, where it should be coming up in the next phase, that it's just the 2-year delinquencies, and we hope that we can help most of those folks redeem.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our agenda.
Oh, I have a waiver item.
Councilor
Yeah.
Boyle.
Oh, what about that? I am introducing a waiver item. It's a resolution to Congressman Katko asking for his support on the funding of the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2018. This act was enacted in 1994 and was set to expire September 30th, 2018. President Trump put in some stopgap funding to cover it through December 7th, 2018. But the future of this act is not for sure. This act supports financially social service agencies, counseling for sexual violence, pretty much every protection for domestic violence, counseling services, safe houses, protections for children. It's very important civil rights legislation, and we need to make sure that it is continued on in funding. So I'm asking for CATCO to make sure that he supports the funding of this act, and I would appreciate any counselors who want to sign on this letter. There's nothing in the Senate for it. It's only in Congress, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a little bit of controversy around this as they recently changed the wording of it to include LGBTQ victims of domestic violence. And so there's some question from some of the conservative Republicans in Congress whether they're going to try to push back on the funding for this. But let me assure you, we do not want to live in a country without this law enacted. So I would encourage everybody to reach out to your congressman and tell him to make sure to fund this, and I'd like to ask for my fellow councilors' support on this.
Yes, Nora, did you have the 2 waiver items, Nora or Yolanda? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so they're requesting permission, as a matter of fact, it's On Point for College. They're requesting to encroach a sign 6 feet into the right-of-way on Slocum Street. That was one of them.
Okay.
And then the other encroachment was 900 East Fayette Group. They're requesting permission to place a cornice, nave, and entry stairs and a sign into the existing building, which encroach into Fayette Street also.
Okay.
Yeah, the Slocum one, 6 feet into the street, or into the sidewalk, I mean,
Yeah, they want to place a sign 6 feet into the right-of-way for On Point for College. Yes.
So is it like in the driveway?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and it's just those 2?
Yeah, it's just those 2.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she wanted
He's
to.
asking about
add those.
co-sponsors for Council Boyle's legislation.
Do you need?
I think all councilors are in support of.
Thank you. Pardon me?
Yeah, you might want to.
We'll check with them. We always do.
Appreciate it. Now, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
We will be having a Smart City Committee meeting immediately following this, so.